Inflation over the last 5 years has been pretty ridiculous. From 2019 to 2025, we have seen a massive upswing in the cost of everything, living in general, but especially in the food market. And I'm not just talking about the eggs, which still we're having egg issues. I know you guys are seeing it where you live. I'm seeing it where I live. I'm seeing it in restaurants still. When I go out to eat, we went out for breakfast one day and the restaurant did not have a sign anywhere stating that they were doing an egg surcharge. But sure enough, the bill came and we were each charged an extra 50 cents per meal for anybody who had eggs. There's a 50 cents egg surcharge. They're still doing this, even though in theory, the market price of eggs is supposed to be coming down. The commercial cost of eggs is supposed to be coming down, but restaurants aren't really giving that savings back to the customers. They are still charging that 50-cent egg surcharge, which I feel is a little bit like a highway robbery, if you will. Now, we talked about the cost of chicken over the last couple of years. We've talked about the cost of beef, your regular goods like your pasta, your rice, your canned goods that we've seen go from 79 cents to $2 and change just for your generic brand of vegetables a lot of the times. But what we haven't really talked about is what the prices have done in these staple fast food restaurants. And some of you may think to yourselves, well, I don't eat fast food, so it doesn't matter, it's fine. Which is true. A lot of people eat less fast food now, not because of health issues, although that's a very good reason to steer clear of fast food restaurants because of all of the chemicals in their food, but because of the prices. Chick-fil-A, I know a lot of people like Chick-fil-A and a lot of people loathe Chick-fil-A. It's a very divisive restaurant. Same thing with McDonald's, same thing with Waffle House. We're going to talk about those three real fast because I want to point out something a lot of people don't realize. We will sit there and gripe about the fact you're like, I know I'm paying more right now than I did the last time I was here for this meal. And then sometimes maybe you feel a little crazy about it. You go to Chick-fil-A and you order your chicken sandwich and your fries and your medium Dr. Pepper, if you will, or sweet tea, which Chick-fil-A is notorious for. And you get the total at the register and you think to yourself, man, was it really always this expensive? No, it was not always this expensive. I have a picture here that I would like to show you of Chick-fil-A from just a few years ago. You guys can see this is their billboard and you can see a Chick-fil-A #1 meal, which is a chicken sandwich, a medium fry, and a medium drink, generally speaking a soda or a tea, would run you $6.39 for a meal, all right? The spicy chicken deluxe meal was gonna run you $7.25 per meal. And again, this is for the sandwich, the chicken sandwich, the french fries, the medium french fries, and a medium drink. And this was just a couple of years ago. Today, that exact same meal is costing you over $3 more for the exact same meal, but not the exact same portions. We have all experienced shrinkflation over the last couple of years where the prices have gone up and the quantity has gone down. Chips, bags of chips are notorious for it. Anything you buy, whether it's Lay's, whether it's free, well, I don't even know all the different brands. There's so many different like names of chips that are all under that one big umbrella, but you know what I mean. Whether it's a Dorito or it's a pretzel or it's a regular potato chip, we are seeing that the bags are getting smaller and smaller, the price is getting higher and higher. Same thing with your cereals, same thing with your bagged lettuces and just random things like that. Chick-fil-A is no different. You used to be able to go to Chick-fil-A and maybe it's, I was younger and food seemed larger, my stomach was smaller. Now I'm older, food looks smaller, my stomach is larger. It's very weird how this works as you get older. But I noticed that at Chick-fil-A, it used to be you could go in and get a chicken biscuit, a breakfast chicken biscuit, and it would be huge and it would fill you up and you'd be good to go. Now, my husband can go to Chick-fil-A and get a chicken biscuit in the morning and 3 bites later, it's done. The price has gone up, the size has gone down. And a lot of people are seeing this. So I decided to ask Grok over on X because I trust the AI version there more so than ChatGPT personally. So I asked Grok, I said, can you tell me the 2019 prices at Chick-fil-A? And the reason I said 2019 is because a lot of times people are looking at what things cost in 2020. Well, are we looking at the beginning of 2020 or are we looking at the back end of 2020? Because that's a massive difference. The beginning of 2020 was the same as the end of 2019. So we are looking at 2019 versus now 2025, all right? And technically, if you want to look at it, the same administration in 2019 and now in 2025, but that middle administration is when everything kind of got a little wonky, if you will. So in 2019, Chick-fil-A, this is their average menu price, whether you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, or right down the middle. This is the average price of a Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit in 2019. You were looking between $2.19 and $2.49. And that was a great deal. Even back then, though, we probably thought that was expensive, right? But you look at it now and you're like, man, I would give anything to only have to pay $2.19 for a chicken biscuit at Chick-fil-A. You could get chicken minis, and this one I have a personal loathe for the price of chicken minis. You could get a 4-count chicken mini for $2.99 to $3.25. Now, this is whether you're in New York or LA, obviously East Coast versus West Coast. And those are two of the more expensive cities to live in, purchase in, anything like that. A lot of these prices are going to be a couple cents cheaper in your random rural areas, right? So $2.19, we're going to go $2.19 for a chicken biscuit, and we're going to say $2.99 for a 4-count chicken mini. That's in 2019. Right now, 2025, I would like you all to know that a chicken biscuit is going for $3.69, over $1.50 more for less food at this point. You are paying more for a smaller biscuit. Now here's the one that gets me. The chicken mini 4-count, which, in case anybody's curious, is literally 4 chicken nuggets and 4 itty bitty pieces of bread. That's all it is. 4 chicken nuggets, not even enough chicken to make up the same quantity or size or protein pack of a regular chicken fillet, right? The chicken mini 4-count is now between $5.79 to $6.19. The same 4 nuggets with bread that cost you $2.99 just a few years ago. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me that not only have the prices gone through the roof, but that we still go to these places and purchase these things, knowing that we are getting robbed every single time we make a purchase. Yes, inflation has happened over the last couple of years, but has it warranted almost doubling in price on a lot of these things? So if you look at, I have a couple notes here I just want to read to you. Comparison. In 2019, the chicken biscuit was around $2.19. Now it is 70% more in 2025. And then if you add in hash browns and a drink to that, you're normally $4 to $5 more than the sandwich if you want the whole meal, which is absolutely ridiculous. Same thing if you were to look at the chicken sandwiches. A chicken sandwich in 2019 cost you $3.05. Now in 2025, you are looking between $5.39 to $6.59, which is a 76% to 116% difference in price between 2019 and now. The chicken prices did not go up that much. The flour prices, the potato prices, the soda prices have not risen significantly higher in order to warrant these companies passing on these massive price hikes to their consumers, especially when you take into consideration they are large corporations who are buying things at a much cheaper price in bulk than if you and I were to go to a grocery store and purchase chicken, to go home and try to make a chicken sandwich, to purchase the flour to make the bread, to purchase the potatoes to make the french fries, to purchase a soda. It is more expensive for us to go do that than it is for these corporations, and yet they are charging us like they are paying retail prices like you and I are. It is absolutely ridiculous. Then you take into consideration Waffle House. People love Waffle House. I used to love it when I was younger. Of course, a lot of people like Waffle House closer to 1 or 2 a.m. after they've been out with their friends all night, whether it's going to a party or it's a late night movie or you've gone and had some drinks with friends or whatever it is. A lot of people love Waffle House, or as we like to call it, Awful Waffle. Back in the day, you could go to Waffle House and get the hash browns, and you could get them hash browns all the way, which I believe is scattered, covered, smothered, and I don't remember all the rest of them, but you got some chili, you got some cheese, you got some onions, and I think you have some jalapenos in there if you really want a little hint of spice. And you were looking at maybe $2.50 all the way covered. Now those same hash browns, you're paying like $4 for the exact same thing in a smaller portion. Absolutely ridiculous when Waffle House costs the same price as going to a sit-down higher end restaurant like a Longhorn or a Chili's, which aren't exactly high end, but in comparison to Waffle House, it's a little bit different, right? Then, y'all, you take into consideration the fact that you still have to tip at a lot of these places. Chick-fil-A, thankfully, has not started requesting tips when you pay with a credit card, unlike Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. McDonald's does ask if you want to tip when you pay with your card. Even Walmart is asking if you want to round up, and there's always something you're rounding up for. Who knows if it's actually going where it's supposed to. Same thing with these other places. When you put in your card to make a payment and it says, do you want to leave a tip? How do you know that that tip is going to whoever is helping you in that location, whether it's Crumble Cookie or, like I said, McDonald's or wherever else? Now, when you go to restaurants, sit down restaurants with a server, somebody who gets paid a specific hourly rate and then relies upon the tips to make their payments of everything. Like, that's what they rely on. The bulk of their money coming in is from tips that you and I leave based off of their service. Take that into consideration when you go out to eat. Now, that meal that used to cost you $20 and you would tip 20% and leave maybe $4 or $5, that meal now costs you $35 to $40. So now you're leaving $7 to $8. You're doubling everything, right? And on top of that, a lot of these places are also now charging the customers to pay with credit cards. You are being fed the fee that the credit card companies are giving to the restaurant. So a lot of times you have a cash total and a credit card total, which generally speaking is 3.5% on top of your actual bill. Here's what's interesting to me. As somebody who waited tables for years, actually one of my most favorite jobs that I've ever had, because I like people, I like talking to people, I like helping people. It's a great way to meet a lot of new people and make somebody smile, make their day, right? I loved waiting tables. Every once in a while, obviously, you get those tables where you're kind of like, oh, I hope their food's a little too salty. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean. But now it used to be that you would go out to eat and you tip based on your total, which is, as things get more expensive, really makes you step back and think to yourself, why are we tipping? And this is coming from a former waitress. Why are we tipping on a bill's total versus on the service itself? We have become so programmed that it's a 20% tip on top of whatever the cost is. And a lot of people pay that. And a lot of people, if they don't receive a 20% tip on top of whatever the person just paid for, whether it's for their food, their hair service, their nail service, their lawn service, whatever it is, a lot of people that are on the receiving end of the tip feel like they've gotten gypped or slighted if they don't get a 20% tip. But here's my question. Whether I order a $15 burger, because that's how much burgers cost at restaurants these days on the cheap end, whether I order a $15 burger or a $50 steak, you are doing the exact same amount of service. So why are we expected to pay over double the tip money for the exact same amount of service just because the food they brought to your table cost a little bit more? This may not make sense to a lot of people, but that's how my brain thinks about these restaurants. Why are we paying more just because they are serving more people? The more people they serve, it seems like the higher the prices go. You would think that as more and more people are purchasing from these places, the prices would go down. They are getting really good deals on these things that they are buying. They have more people making purchases, yet the prices keep going up. Why do we continuously pay more so these companies can, at the end of the day, make a larger profit? Which is why I question, why do we tip more so these servers can make a larger tip, even though they've done the exact same amount of work. It's just the cost of the plate they brought us was more than a different one. I hope that makes sense to you guys. In my brain, I can see it. It's like a weird little diagram in my brain, the way I look at these things. But I feel guilty when I go out with my family. If we go out to eat, and let's say between the three of us, my husband, our daughter, and myself, let's say we spend $50 in food, okay? $50 in food. Well, then there's tax. And let's just go ahead and round it up to $60 because some places have high tax, some places don't, just depends. We'll round it up to $60. Well, then you have to also add in that fee that they charge you. So let's say, because I can't do any kind of math in my head, let's just make it $65. Technically, I got $50 worth of food. Should I not be tipping on that $50? Because if I don't tip on that $65, the server feels like they got gypped because they didn't make $13 off of me, when in actuality, they should have only made 10. But really, in actuality, should it have even been 10? Why are we tipping based off our total, not based off the service? This is a very tricky conversation for a lot of people, especially if you happen to be in a food service industry or an industry where tips are appreciated, or that is how you make your living off of. Conversations like this sometimes are very heated because not everybody sees things the same. You have countries out there who don't tip at all. And when those people from those countries come here to the United States, where we are a very high tipping culture, because employers would rather rely on their customers to pay their employees bills than rely on the company to pay employees accordingly, right? You have people come from other countries over here who don't tip. It really does bother and actually hurt a lot of the people in service industries. So then you have more and more service industries or restaurants that are now incorporating an automatic 20% tip, and they are losing business because a lot of people don't want an automatic tip added in because they want to pay for the service. And if you have the tip already added in, the service may no longer be there, because why do they have to work hard if they automatically get 20% of whatever you happen to buy? Interesting conversation, I know. It's just something that I always think about when I go out to eat or anywhere else that requires tips. But anyway, at the end of the day, the cost of everything, it's not going to go down. As much as we want to believe that the Trump administration is going to be able to lower prices, it's not going to lower prices significantly. We are still going to be living in a time where inflation has occurred. It is a thing. Maybe it stops, maybe it plateaus instead of, continues this massive upward climb we've had the last couple of years. But this is our reality now, where we are paying high dollar for low product, or even low quality or low quantity, whatever words we want to use here. It is the new norm. And I think a lot of people are realizing that if they want to be able to afford to go out to eat, it's very hard to find places where you feel like you are getting the bang for your buck like you used to. It used to be you could go to Olive Garden, order a bowl of spaghetti, the never-ending pasta they used to do, and you got a massive amount of food for like $9.99. Now you go and maybe you're paying $14.99 for the same never-ending bowl of pasta, but it's very small, and it does kind of end because every time you ask for more, they bring you a little bit less because they really don't want you taking all the food, I feel like a lot more people are trying to find ways to cook at home, which then is going to, because this is how consumerism works, it's then going to up the prices of things in the grocery stores, because the manufacturers and suppliers are going to say, oh, look, high demand, let's go ahead and raise the prices. It's a vicious cycle that we will forever be in. And it's just something which really sucks to say that we kind of have to get used to. Ugh, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth when you say it like that, and I fully understand because I'm right there with you. But what I do know is that whereas we would go to Chick-fil-A a lot in previous years, we barely go to Chick-fil-A anymore. Number one, because the food is, as tasty as it may be, it is awful for you. But at the end of the day, it's not worth going to Chick-fil-A and spending $40 for 3 people to eat when you could go to a sit-down restaurant sometimes and spend the exact same price, minus the tip, obviously. So, Squirrel Tribe, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comment section below. I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your day. I love you all. Goodbye.